Thank you. And thank you all for being here today. We have a wonderful panel, a very difficult panel to present because when I was reading the two works, I was thinking, now how do we connect these two works? And I think this sort of theme is the silent voice and the many voices, because in Ōima-san's work, we have voicelessness, and in Abeer and in the Zoraver and the Lost Gods, with Abeer and Ujan's work, you have many, many voices, all speaking at the same time, and you were left wondering who to hear. So with this, I should just say that we're very happy to have with us, with Ōima-san, her publisher, Yoshitoki Koga-san, and Yasutomo and Tsuchiya-san, who are Ōima-san's editors. Ōima-san does not travel very much, and so we're indeed very lucky, because the only other country she's been was France. So we're really very fortunate to have her here. As you all are very familiar with manga, I won't say much except to say that manga is the Japanese way of telling a story, a graphic story, through words and images. And they took this form from the Western cartoons, but in a very typical way, in the truly uniquely Japanese way, they turned it around and using their own imagination, their own very rich pictorial culture, they made it into something truly unique and something that was uniquely Japanese. So with this, I thought I would just ask our authors of Zoraver and the Lost Gods, which is an amazingly exciting book. I would like to start perhaps with them and ask them about manga. Are you familiar with mangas? Did you read manga a lot, and has it inspired your work?
Can you hear me? Okay, yeah. So I'll start while we fix that. Yes, much like any sort of visual referencing, we are big fans of the manga genre. And interestingly enough, there is a part in our book, because what we've taken from, we've drawn so many visual languages from things we've seen, things we've heard, things we've read, films, movies, literature, to create a visual identity for our book, much like manga has its own sort of visual identity. Interestingly enough, there's a chapter in the middle of our book where the children, the way the faces of the children are made are very much inspired from the innocence of a manga face, you know, the sort of pointy jaw bottom and largish eyes. And that is something we were very conscious about. We wanted to capture the essence of what that looked like. And especially for the young Zoraver character in our book, we wanted to show that.
Manga has very much inspired the type of stories we consume, the stories that we see. Of course, everyone of a certain age grew up on Dragon Ball Z, which was absolutely incredible in the way everyone sort of realizes and inherited or wanted to be as brave as Goku-san. Or, you know, whether it was Full Metal Jacket or Bleach or any of the classic mangas or even something as beautiful as Cowboy Bebop. We all grew up on these incredible, brave, genre-pushing stories that was only possible in a medium like manga. So it inspired us not only as a format of visual storytelling, but storytelling in itself. Because there is joy, there is pain, there is hurt, there is a character redemption arc that is only possible in a medium like manga.
Ōima-san, この質問はあなたで、 Um, in your the story, for those who are not familiar, A Silent Voice is a story about bullying, but it's also a story about voicelessness. You have two main characters in this story, Shoko and Shoya. And their names are similar and they can be inverted. And so it, in a way, even the naming of the characters refers to how deeply both the person who bullies and the person who is bullied, the victim, are in a sense connected.
Right.
But Shoya is, the story starts at a very interesting and very dramatic point, because it's not a story about the one who is bullied and how he survives the bullying, but it's about the Shoya, who is the one who is the bully, and he is about to commit suicide. He has decided, because he was, in the story, a little bit of the backstory here, is when he was bullying Shoko, he said he used to take her, Shoko is deaf, and therefore she can't hear, when she uses hearing aids, she can follow a little bit, but without that she can only use sign language. So he used to steal those hearing aids and throw them into the water and destroy them. And when the school finds out about this, they force his parents to pay back the money to Shoko's family for those hearing aids that he's destroyed. And this, when we start the novel, Shoya has grown up and he's already made enough money to pay his mother back, and he's decided that he's going to pay his mother and then he's going to kill himself. But then he has a chance encounter with Shoko, who he sees and he thinks, no, this is not the moment. If she has come into my life, then it is for a purpose. It is because life is telling me something. It's giving me a message. And the message that he gets from that is that he must make amends. He must do something to make Shoko's life better. And he cannot, he cannot kill himself, because he must first do something to make amends. So I would like to ask Ōima-san, why did you choose to tell this story from the point of view of Shoya, from the point of view of the one who is bullying, and why does he feel so bad for what he did?
そうですね、いじめる側の視点から始めようと思ったのは、これまで日本の漫画っていうのは、やはりそのいじめる方は悪なので、どうしても主人公とかいじめられる側の目線でストーリーを進行した方が主人公に感情移入しやすいと思うんですよ。で、そういう、漫画アニメばかりだったんですけど、私はもういいかなって思ってやはりちょっとなんだろう、翔也はそのいじめてるっていう感覚は、当時はなくて、好奇心によって、翔子に干渉していたんですけど、どのようにしてそう結果的にいじめのようになっていってしまったかっていうことを読者に見せることによって、石田にやっぱ感情移入して、やはり自分もそうであるって思ってる人にも、自分も石田みたいだったって思ってる人にも届くようにしたかったっていうのがまずありました。
So, she's talking about till she wrote this manga. Before this manga is coming, always the focus is the person is bullied, right? So, and also person is bullied, perspective is very, easy to understand. And we can easy to empathy that person who is bullied. But it's very difficult to understand who bullied, the person who bullied someone. It's very difficult. So that's why I will write this story, the view from the person bullied, right? This is something very different from the manga before it was written. So that's why I choose. And actually, Shoya is not intentionally bully the Shoko. He is not intention to bully Shoko. He is really interested in Shoko. He wants to know who is this. So that's why gradually, finally, the thing is happened. Shoya bullied somebody. So this process she wants to show so that everyone can understand. Initially, I'm not intention to bully somebody, but finally, the result came. I bullied somebody. So this process she wants to show.
That's very interesting. And just a second question is related to that is about Shoko, about the girl. Because I found it very interesting that you had decided that it's not that she is dumb, it's not that she cannot speak. She is actually, she cannot hear. And not being able to hear what someone else is trying to communicate to you is also central to the difficulties of all the other characters, because they all seem to have a really difficult time in communicating with each other. Even when they can hear, they don't seem to really be listening to each other or hearing each other. And so, in a sense, I think the silent in the title of the book has a much larger meaning. I wanted to know, for you, do you have to be silent to be able to hear other people? Why is it so difficult for people to communicate?
Ah, その通りです。やはり石田と翔子の間であったり、聞こえる人と聞こえない人の間に、コミュニケーションがしづらいように、聞こえる人同士でもコミュニケーションっていうのは 100% ではないので、そうですね、言語とか、手話とか以外のものでも声ってその人の思いとかっていうのは聞き取れたらいいなみたいな、聞き取っていきたいよねみたいなことを思って書いたという感じですね。その部分がやはり沈黙を読み取っていこうみたいな感じになっていると思います。はい。
So thank you very much. I really totally agree whatever you said. Actually, this is my aim to create this, works. Actually, yes, exactly what you said. Communication difficulty is there between hearing person. Both sides is hearing, but still there is a communication difficulty. Not only Shoko cannot convey the emotion to the hearing person, but hearing person also cannot convey their feeling the hearing person. There's so many communication gap. So the thing is, if we will say the silence, that means not only the voice. We are not only convey the feelings through the voice, but we can convey the feelings some other way also. She wants to show this kind of things through this manga.
Yes, words can be very misleading things, as we all know. So, do you think that this is a question for all of you, in fact, but anyone can answer. But I'd like both to answer. Do you feel that images are more trustworthy or words? In general?
I think in today's world with AI and fake news, neither are. But I think it's a matter of who's writing and whether you trust the person. And for us, as we were writing this book, we knew the truth we wanted to say. That there is a certain level of our history that requires revisiting. There's a certain amount of a narrative of exploitation, of excess, of robbery, of plunder, of a quietening that the British colonialists did that needs to be brought to the fore. Now, in this time of WhatsApp forwards, fake news, AI art, all of that, what do we know? We know that there is a certain history of exploitation that is true. So beyond image and text, I think it is the message that has to be trustworthy.
And I think that staying true to that message is something that we realized early on, because the story we were trying to tell was never going to be straightforward, because we wanted to specifically try and do something alternative, create different ways of seeing a very linear narrative. We have a flashback, we have multiple flashbacks, we have a heist, we have, there are many things happening. It's like we have drama, action, romance. It's like a Sanjay Leela Bhansali movie. It's got everything, and it leads, at some point it leads somewhere. But hopefully. But I think interestingly enough, what you meant to say is how the visuals marry the words. And initially, just a few minutes ago, you mentioned water. And water is such an interesting trope in Ōima-san's book. And the way they use water is where the main character, which is Shoya, who is the bully, every day he goes with his friends, they jump into a pond, they come back, they are mischievous in school, they don't go for class, or they go and water is their like space of like fun. And that's the only way he knows, and he throws her hearing aids into the water as well, right? So we, like water, we have, I think, smoke. For us, it's smoke and mirror. A lot of what we've done in visual language is the smoke from a train, the smoke inside a cave, in dark spaces, and through light.
And magical mirrors.
And magical mirrors, and that's something you can see throughout the book.
お二人のおっしゃったことがもうなんか素晴らしすぎて私が喋ることがないんじゃないかと思うんですけど。
So whatever you said is so excellent and so wonderful. Maybe I don't have any words from.
本当にやっぱ言葉はやっぱ海を越えてものすごく強いもう直感的なものをこう伝えてくれますし、絵はやっぱ深く見てる人にとってはものすごく体に吸収されていくものだと思うんで、やはり2つともとても大事だと思っています。はい、ありがとうございます。
So from my side, it's very simple. Story or text or image or visual, you know, these two things is very important on their own way. How the text and the story has a strong impression, and visual or image has a deep message, and this message is going into somebody's body. So I think both are very important.
Well, thank you, that's a lovely answer. Just because I haven't really explained to the audience, and you may not have read Zoraver and the Lost Gods, which I really suggest everybody buy, because it's sort of like a Indiana Jones set in colonial India, and at the same time it's also very deep, because there's many, as you can hear, you know, there's a lot of thought going into these into the story. But basically it's a story which is set in colonial India, in British India. And I was kind of intrigued, because this is a time or a period of which we don't really have many images. And the images and the sources, the historical sources that we have about this period are in fact very much the generally, I mean, now there's a lot of other history that has come out and a lot of which correct the picture, but really the sort of the picture that most people know of the colonial period and about colonialism is a picture which is is given to us by the victors, by the colonialists. And in this comic, what's interesting is they've tried to reverse the gaze, and it's a story of lost treasure. And and he says, I mean, I'll just tell you a little bit, I'll read to you from the comic. Valuable treasures go missing across the world all the time. Who do you think is behind it? This is one of the characters who says this to Dadabhai Naoroji, who plays a fantastic cameo in the beginning of the book. Only now, the British have organized their greed as intellectual curiosity. Our society aims to thwart its plans. There are things that we have to ensure lay hidden. I was kind of wondering, do you feel that this question of something hidden, because I think that's again a common theme in both your works, to kind of give a voice to things that are hidden. Is that difficult? How do you do it? How do you imagine and create this world for which, in fact, there aren't that many images available, since you're telling the story from the point of view of a sort of hidden society trying to fight the British department, which is trying to steal secret treasures and trying to find secret manuscripts which tell you about where to find these treasures?
So very quickly, to answer a sort of very big question for us, is that the British were notorious note keepers, and that was something that was passed on to our citizenry as well. So you will find letters upon letters upon letters being written to and fro across the entire length and breadth of the subcontinent. Now, not that we read all of them, because that's not possible, but what we were able to glean through this was a very, very interesting time. And when we were trying to gather our references, when we were trying to build the story of Zoraver's world, we started focusing not only on characters, but the time as well. I'll give you a small example. Zoraver, our main character, comes from a family of astrologers. And we wanted to insert the power of that family into the larger scope of what was happening there. Everyone would have heard of Dadabhai Naoroji, the grand old man of India. He was born in 1824. He was born in a town called Navsari, and his father had died and his mother was unlettered. Dadabhai's mother wanted him to become a priest. And suddenly one day the neighbor comes in and says he has to go to the Elphinstone Society, or what was called the Sisoti School. Now, here is a very peculiar moment in history, right? You have this reference of Dadabhai Naoroji's life, and you have this one binary decision. He could have been a priest. He ended up becoming Dadabhai Naoroji as we know him. Perhaps the most important voice against colonialism, his theory of the drain of wealth. He started journals, he did all of that. And this is where we introduce Zoraver and Zoraver's astrology. His grandfather sends a letter to Zoraver, to Dadabhai, who forces his hand into going into the Elphinstone Society. There are several visual references as well. Why don't you talk about the...
Okay, so visually, as it happens, and this is, again, like years and years and years of work has gone into this, and we realized that when we started this, a lot of the visual referencing, whether it's art or photographs, is all done by people who are here from the West, from the British, predominantly the British. So whatever photographs we have from that time are all from the perspective of, the British in India. So what we essentially tried to do is do a very sort of mix and match of like taking that source material and combining it with what we know as our cultural identity of certain places, because we have in this book multiple locations, right? We have Sravasti, Harappa, Calcutta, which was the capital of India at that time, Lucknow, we have London as well. So to actually form like particular places and situate those characters and how they looked and how they dressed in those places was a very interesting experience, and we managed to kind of do that through stories of people like Dadabhai Naoroji, because, for example, the place where he goes to eventually and works with and is part of the secret society which you're talking about is the Tarovali Koti. And the Tarovali Koti was an observatory which existed in the 19th century, I think.
It was the Nawab's astronomy tower.
Yeah, it was an astronomy tower, which incidentally there were photographs for, and that building still exists today. And it is an what is SBI Bank branch.
SBI Bank.
So anyone in Lucknow, if you know, SBI Bank was at one point the Tarovali Koti.
Just one more thing in terms of referencing, the British Secret Society, the Secret Committee, was actually a historical fact. So in the late 18th century, they tried to make a dash for Aurangzeb's ship. The British fail, and they realize that it takes 6 months to communicate from England to India. So then they are necessitated to build a secret coterie of 3. And that determines the direction of the entire annexation of British India over the next century. So these are all references and historically accurate world building that we have used.
Thank you. Ōima-san, question for you. I was very struck at one point. You say, while your Shoya, your main character, the one who was the bully, he says, when do people, in the English translation, I don't know what it's like in the Japanese, but the English it says, when do people start seeing each other as friends? Which I thought was an absolutely wonderful question, because it's something that we all ask ourselves. When is this person really a friend? But what I was finding, friendship in your story is very, very important. It's like the other main theme. And I feel like were you trying to say, because I feel like friendship is the one thing that is preventing people from dying, preventing these young people from committing suicide, connection with others.
友情がもし友情パワーがなんか自殺を止めれたらいいなって思って書いてるんですよね。友情については私もなんか友達だっていろんな人に私も友達だって思ってるんですけど、やはり私の見えてないところで力が動いてて、やはり止められないこともあるし、気づかないこともあったので、いや本当は信じたいっていう感じではあるんですよね。なので、力があったらいいなっていう思いで書いてます。
So she said, "Thank you very much. I really exactly think the same way. I really want to stop suicide by the friendship, and it will be very nice if friendship can stop the suicide. So this is the main theme, and always I try my best if this kind of thing will happen. And in my personal life, it's sometimes difficult to make a friend, because sometimes I feel this person is my friend, but reality is sometimes not like that. It's very difficult to make a friend. I think it happens not only with me, but maybe everyone will think friendship is not very much easy. Making a friendship is not very much easy.
I think that's very true. It's very difficult. But maybe one way of making a friendship is through having a shared project, having a piece of work that you do together, and that brings me back to our wonderful shared project right here, Zoraver and the Lost Gods, which is a comic, which is a graphic novel not done by one person, but done by two. It is written and illustrated by it's a team work. And since teamwork is the organization that has organized this absolutely wonderful festival, JLF, I thought it'd be interesting to talk about what it's like to make a piece of a creative work as a team.
So interestingly enough, Abeer and I are, apart from co-authors, we are childhood friends. And with that comes a lot of understanding, a lot of history, and a lot of, I think, wanting to kill each other at the same time, which thankfully we didn't do because we had to complete this book.
Finish the book, yeah.
We had to finish the book, so we didn't end up killing each other, which we might now. That being said, I think it was such an enriching and rewarding experience to be part of a group project, because we really got to combine the written word and the visuals in a very sort of interesting amalgamation of storytelling. And working together was a dream, really. I mean, like, that's something that we've been thinking about since we were kids. And yeah, I mean,
This is project number 73 that we've tried working on together. Yeah. But for me, again, I want to tell a story about the last day before our book goes into reading, editing, and then that's the last time we're going to see the book. In this moment, we realize we have to rewrite or reorder chapter 12. And I think having a friendship that spans longer than, well, about 25 years really comes into this. So we sit down and Ujan says, I don't want to draw anymore. And I'm like,
At which point Abeer says, no, mujhe heist chahiye. We need to do some Ocean's 11 like type scene in the last 15 pages of this book.
Ujan's like, no, that won't happen. So we sat down and we reordered the entire last chapter in a matter of 6 hours. And we were only able to do it because A, we share the references growing up. So another thing, we went to see Oppenheimer, the movie, in the hall, and we come back and both of us look at each other and say, oh my God, I wish it was like an Ocean's movie, which it wasn't. But again, these sort of references that we shared because of growing up on a common staple diet of content, of music, listening to our earpods on the same song, on the metro to college for 3 years, that really builds a way. So while a author and illustrator can do the entire thing in one go, I think the richness of having the same visual references but different lenses to it also makes a huge difference. And I think that's what makes our book much richer.
Ōima-san, this is about, I wanted to know from you, what is the most important thing for you in friendship?
いやちょっとわかんない。
Difficult question.
難しい。私がそうですね。
Is it trust? Is it having a shared background?
私は何でしょう、基本的に恥ずかしがり屋なんで、そうですね、何もないだろうなっていう人とはあまり仲良くなれないんですけど、そうですね、その漫画を描く現場だったらそうですね、私はどうしてもちょっと指示する側になってしまうので、なるべく偉そうにならないように年齢の差もあるんで、私がどうしても上になっちゃうとアシスタントの子たちもものすごく恐縮してしまうので、できるだけ早めに自分の弱点を晒してお腹出して歩いてみたりとか踊ってみたりとか、早めに恥を晒して仲良くなりたいですということを開示して仕事に挑んでいます。
I think it's very interesting. She said, she shared her some personal life, how she look about the friendship and how she created a friendship. First of all, I'm very shy. I'm shyest person in the world. So that's why very difficult to make a friend actually. But in my work, I have to communicate with others so that team will work very, very nicely. And actually my role is giving the order. Actually, I'm the person, whatever the project is going on, I have to give the command, do that, do that. But in a team, there are many person is junior than me. So that's why they are really, in a tent. If I am always be shy and like that. So that's why I always try to be very humble and also try to be very funny so that everyone can be relaxed. She said sometimes she will show her tummy and do some funny things. Then so that everyone can be relaxed, she try her best to make a very nice and friendly circumstances in a team. So in that way, she really cherish her team members.
Well, that you get a sense in a silent voice of a team. We don't have much time. I wanted to open it up for questions in the audience, but I just thought one very quick thing. Do you, as a mangaka, as a graphic novelist, do you see yourselves as insiders in society or outsiders?
So just to, yeah, of our own selves. So Ujan and I are generally very weird as individuals, and when we hang out together, we get a little weirder. So I think you need to be a little weird to do a graphic novel or a manga. But there is a responsibility on us to be social and civil and humble and more people and human-like more often than not. But it is through the creative process that we're able to really be our weirdest selves, and the graphic novel becomes that medium.
And really that medium sort of, like he said, helps us bounce off ideas off each other. So if he says he wants a particular thing, I say no, then he says yes. And it's really about finding that very interesting middle ground between the two, whether it's like showing the outside of a train or like the inside of a building or gunfights or whatever that is. And, that's the point where you're just like, okay, we know we're doing this for a certain audience, but at the same time, we want to do what we want to do as individuals. And we have to stay true to ourselves always. I think that comes first.
Or and just once in a while, Ujan makes this absolute stellar panel, and you're like, oh my God, yes, boss. And then just the freedom of having your best friend to geek out over his own illustration, and for him to say, my God, I have killed it.
Ōima-san?
そうですね。やはり書くときは、自分の心を内側社会の中にいるんだ。ここで経験して、その時のことを思い出したり、現在進行形で経験して、そしてじゃあ商品として売るためにはってなったら、やはり外側から少し見て、遠くから観察して、本当はこの中側から見たものを書くけど、でもお客さんに向けては外側のこの側の部分をちょっと作っていかないとちょっと商品にならなかったりするんで、そこをちょっとごめんなさい、答えが合ってるかわかんないんですけどそのような形でやってます。はい。
So I'm in a both sides. Sometimes I'm in a society. Sometimes I observe society from the outside. When I create the works, I'm in a society because my creation is based on my experience, based on my memory, what I have done in my personal life. But that once the works has done and it's going to the market, and that is all the process of the project kind of thing, sometimes I have to see this from outside of the society, because we have to know what kind of reaction will be from the readers, what is the best way for the readers, this kind of thing I have to think. So that's why once my creation has done, I'm go out to the society and think about my works for the best way. Yeah, thank you.
So questions, the young man in the green over there.
Hello, I'm Sabil, and my question is to Ōima-san. Can you give me some advice, because it's my dream to become a mangaka myself, and I've tried improving my artwork and my writing skills. So can you please give me some motivation for it?
いやもう、本当に楽しんで書いてほしいですね。多分いっぱい辛いことあるかもしれないんですけど、自分の大事な絵と物語を守れるのは自分だけなので、一生懸命守って、そして一生懸命楽しむことを忘れずに頑張ってください。
First of all, I really want you to enjoy writing. This is the most important. You have to enjoy writing. And other thing is, I know there are a lot of challenges, but still, your story and your illustration can be protected by yourself. No one will protect your illustration and your story. So please protect your story and illustration and keep going and keep enjoying. Yeah? Thank you.
What about the lady in the front?
As people who work with both images and words, all of you, what's your opinion on AI, but in particular the misuse of AI in both of these fields?
You want to go first?
Okay, thank you. So the thing is, I understand that yes, AI is an exceptional tool that is there out in the world today. As creators, personally, I'm not so sure I really use that much AI. That being said, I'm not also anti-AI, because I understand that AI is a tool for the world, and there will always be need for artists and creators, and maybe that value will come back. It's always going to be there and it'll never change. We also had an interesting story, because we're creating insides of locations, and for example, we had to recreate the inside of the Grand Hotel in Calcutta, which is one of the first 5-star hotels in India. We didn't really have any inroads into what that looked like. So we did a mix of using sort of generative ideas, our own ideas, thoughts. We put that together, and then I went back to, literally the drawing board, and then you figure out what that looks like. So yes, as a tool, wonderful. As creators, I'm not so sure. Ōima-san may have a different take. What do you think?
As the writer, I don't think AI builds a sense of sameness. It borrows unscrupulously from existing artwork. It does not give that many references back. It is very, very much an antithesis to creativity. And that is what my line is. I think it will never be able to do what humans do. And eventually we'll be able to see that very, very clearly. In order to protect ourselves, our art, our writing, our thinking, the creative must take a step away from AI. Surely you can use it in the same way a wrench is used, but that is what it should be designed as. Because what I keep on thinking about is AI is to writing and creativity what the motor car was for horses, right? we don't use them anymore for long distance travel. Eventually, what they want to do is they want to be able to control all parts of your life. How you see, how you think, how you observe, how you write. And you can now really clearly tell what is AI generated and what is not. And that is slowly, and AI feeds into the insecurities of people who want to write better but cannot, who cannot write English as well as someone else. And it gives you that crutch, but it also gives you, it takes something in return. It takes your individuality. So I am not a big fan of how AI is going to come and affect the creative field. I think it should be more human oriented.
Okay, fine. The young man here on the third row, yeah.
My question is from Ōima-san only. In Silent Voice, the mothers of the lead characters express immense pain through their dramatic dialogue, but through silence. Something rarely explored in manga and animes. So is this kind of quiet and silent emotional expression more difficult to portray than the overt tragedy of the main characters?
It was. 書き方難しいですけど、
アクションがあったり、そういうのがある中ではやはりこの、いろんなものを伝えるのが簡単だと思う。
The question is silence very difficult to portray?
その沈黙っていうものを、表現するのは非常に難しいこと、絵を通してビジュアルとかで通して表現するのは難しいことだと思うんですが、それについてどうですか？
沈黙を表現することについて表現することは半分は読者を信じてます。でやはりその読者に読み取ってもらう上でその技術的なその工夫とかはしててこのセリフを言ってる時にこういう動作をするとかいうのを見つけてもらう法則として読者に法則を見つけてもらうための描写をちょこっと入れていくことによってここは書かれてないけど何も言ってないけどこれを言ってるんだなっていうことを読者に読み取ってもらうようにしてるんですけど、ものすごくちょっと難しいことをちょっとチャレンジしているつもりではいるんですけど、結構体感覚的にはかなり読者には読み取ってもらえてると思ってますのでありがとうございます。
So yes, for me to show the silence through manga and to show the silence through the works is very tough and very difficult. But in this field, I really believe the readers. I believe who read my manga. I believe they can understand my message. Either there is nothing, and also I make some rule and some, secret sign always I give you in my manga. So you can recognize my secret sign. That it depends on you, but there is always secret sign so that everyone can understand my message through the silence. So please try to, and please challenge to catch my sign through my manga. Yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry we have to end the session because as you can see there's a long line of people waiting for books to be signed. But thank you all. You've been a wonderful audience.